so excited about this item. In fact, I'd like to invite our airport manager, Christian Davis, and I saw Brad Mertz. Could you both come up? We probably don't have time for a long speech, but if you could be here to answer some questions. And I want to give some recognition. Christian Davis was made our new airport manager and immediately got thrown into some pretty aggressive negotiations is what we would like to call them. I was always worried he'd be scared away from the job by how aggressive these negotiations were, but he has a great demeanor about him, and he's patient, and he follows through, and he gets things done in a way that really brought all the players together on this. And I'm grateful to have Christian at our airport. He's doing a fantastic job. He's done most all of the legwork on this, and just really are excited about this. These two projects that we're bringing before you for leases will probably double the revenue, more than double the revenue at the airport. Wow. And that's a really good thing, because the airport historically with Springville and Spanish Fork has been a little bit dependent on city budgets to get through because of its size. And we foresee a time when that will not be true anymore, and this airport will be a vibrant, self-sustaining entity for the city. Anyway, just a nod to those involved with vibrant. All right, so that being said, this is the first agreement where you have, let's see, this is 2700 North. It will be renamed Dry Creek Parkway, and it will run to the new interchange being constructed. Construction should be starting any time now on I-15 by that Ford dealership. This is Main Street, and what we love is that you'll get off of the exit, the new exit off of I-15, and it'll take you straight into the front door of the airport, where we'll have all these hangars. You'll have a fixed base operator here. There's plans for a restaurant in there, overseeing the runway, which would be a fantastic venue for a restaurant. A lot of hangars which are in need in this area would be constructed. So we're really excited about this project. It has two phases, phase 1 and phase 2. The total just to lease the land so that they can develop is almost $200,000 a year. So those payments will begin immediately as soon as these lease agreements are signed. And so that is a significant boost to the airport. Once all these hangars get constructed, then those hangars, the land underneath the hangars, will be leased to the hangar owners at a significantly higher lease amount. And so this is a great development for the airport.
So Chris, do the hangar leases supersede the overall lease, or you get both of them? We get both of them.
It's a good question. So we have two types of ground leases. We have development ground leases, and then we have building ground leases. A development ground lease is 8 cents per square foot, and it basically ties up an area of land, and it says this is all reserved for Patey Aviation, which is the applicant here.
And that's the amount that would bring in $200,000 a year?
Correct.
And that's just for phase 1, or are we looking at?
That's for both phases.
Both
so
phases.
They will have to pay 8 cents per square foot for all of this for both phases. That ties up the land, reserves it for them so that they get to be the developers of that land. Okay. Now, as we'll call this phase 1, as this develops, then the public land, it's kind of like your public right-of-way roads. in here, which will be owned by the airport, they won't have to lease that, even though they built it, that becomes public. And so just the ground under the hangars, that then is leased, and I think it's 42 cents per square foot, 42 cents per square foot per year for that land, and then that becomes revenue stream for the airport.
How long are those leases after it's been developed? The 42 cents?
It's a great question. That's a good question. Traditionally, it's been 30 years.
So
But-
meaning it would traditionally have been locked in at 42 cents for 30
No,
years?
no.
No? Okay.
The lease is for 30, it was for 30 years. But the lease amount can grow with the budget as you
Okay.
have inflation and other things. So that being said, these hangars are quite expensive. Some of these hangars, was it $7 million that I heard?
So the big one is 3.5 million.
$3.5 million. The other project had one that was $7 million. These are expensive hangars. And in order to finance something that expensive, you have to have longer lease periods with the bank. And so we worked with the FAA, and we were able to develop a 50-year lease for these buildings. And that made the financing work for these projects. So yes, so for 50 years. And then it can renew after that as long as they maintain their hangars well. They follow our minimum standards for airport buildings and they keep up the appearance of the grounds and stuff, so.
So is there a contingency or anything, because 50 years is a long time, is there a contingency that if they don't maintain that, what happens if after 40 years they start to run down or whatever? Is there anything the city can do to encourage them to clean them up or maintain them?
Typically, we've kind of waited for the leases to go out for that. These will be very nice buildings, so I'm not as concerned about that here. But we just went through this process on a few hangars that as their leases went out, we gave provisional one-year renewals until they could get
them
to a point
fixed
where
up.
they could rebuild them.
Okay.
So there's a little bit of detail here that I wanted to share with you. So this particular phase one is actually divided up into sub-phases that will be built one at a time. One of the biggest challenges that this side of the airport has had and why it's never developed in the last 100 years is because infrastructure was such a challenge. You basically have double the amount of infrastructure costs that you would in a normal development because taxiway, taxi lane, ramp, those type of airport improvements are so much more expensive than a regular road. But on top of that, you have to build the roads to get vehicles in to the area, and you have to build all the utilities you would in a normal development. So there's been a lot of challenges in getting this area done. And so we've had an RDA in place for quite some time that would pay for finishing out Main Street from 2050 North, which is the start of the airport, all the way to Dry Creek Parkway is what it eventually will be named. So, but we haven't wanted to spend that money until it would support improvement. And so we've kept that in the bank. It's been making great interest right now. And so we've just sat on that. This contract commits those funds, but it says that we will not do the work of doing these Main Street improvements until the building permit fees for one of the hangars on Main Street are paid. So that's the trigger. And so once there's money committed to building a hangar on Main Street, that's when we'll expend our funds to do that. One of the big controversies on this site is how easily, I lost my pointer, but how easily it was to build the hangars on Main Street. And so those Main Street hangars were heavily contested to have the right to build that. But we really needed the internal part of the airport to get their infrastructure, the taxiways, the utilities into there. And so you were a part of this discussion some time ago. It seems like it was a long time ago, but it was about a year and a half, 2 years ago. Yeah. Anyway, in that process, in order to find a way to get that done, what we've agreed to is performance-based to provide some reimbursement of the cost to build this road in. But that had to be performance-based. So what this contract does is it says, okay, once you finish one of these 5 phases, you will be reimbursed for 20% per phase for this road going in. They have to build the road up front and get it functional so that it can support all the development in this area. But with each phase, they'll get reimbursed 20% so that we can ensure that the development that will pay the city costs will happen before we expend those costs, if that makes sense. Any questions on any of that? It took a long time to work that out. So. All right. So the other thing is we have another developer here in this area, and if you could, I think it's Exhibit F or something. Down at the bottom. Just keep scrolling down. Keep going. All right, right here. So this is the other development. So we had 2 kind of competing developments for the same area. The one on the north is larger because they had the huge infrastructure expense of that road, Dry Creek Parkway, going in. The other development had a bite of Main Street as well. But one of the things that we had is we have Taxiway Alpha right here, and this was just rebuilt, okay? We just had a presentation on that. This will be Taxiway Bravo, and right now Taxiway Bravo is only constructed right to here. But both of these developments need Taxiway Bravo to extend to here so that access to the runway could be provided. In fact, they actually needed it extended all the way out to the road so that we could have access from Main Street into the development. And so what we did is we called this kind of the common area, the area needed by both sides. But the way to ensure that that would get constructed so that neither development could be an obstacle in the development in the other development, we've written into these 2 agreements that a cash bond for all of the shared type improvements needed to be submitted to the city within 90 days of the execution of these agreements. And then that cash bond can be used to reimburse whichever developer is first to the construction of those improvements. And then in the agreement it says those improvements have to be constructed by September 15th of 2024. So that's another kind of unique thing in this agreement, but we've gone through it with both developers, and they both feel good about that arrangement. So, am I missing any high points?
You're not constructing Taxiway Bravo all the way out. It's just a little piece that ties the 2 pieces together.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So, in fact, Taxiway Bravo won't be actually constructed by either of these developers. That's something that the FAA actually wants to construct because they have really high standards for this type of taxiway. It's very expensive to build a taxiway. Now, Taxiway Bravo, Taxiway B1 is more of an airport standard, which is a bit more cost effective. But we did just recently get some federal funding to do a good design on Taxiway Bravo all the way through there, and we have some what we work out with the FAA every couple of years is kind of a 10-year capital improvement plan, and the extension of Taxiway Bravo down along this alignment is in that. And it's going to be a lot of money. I'm sure we'll have to just do it in sections, but we're getting some pretty good federal support from Congressman Burgess and some others that really, I think,
Christian, did
will help us.
he help us kind of move ahead a few years with that first installment? Any idea how many years earlier we're getting that $200,000 than?
Yeah, so there's a certain amount of funds that we get what are called bill funds, bipartisan infrastructure law funds that are a set amount that's planned out for the next 10 years. And what Congressman Owens did is instead of moving those funds up, he actually passed in a standalone bill additional funding on top of what we are already going to receive.
That was just for our airport.
Yeah,
So
actually,
good
4
work.
airports in Utah, but
We don't care
one of the
about
special
them.
ones in Utah.
Yeah, we don't care about that. That's our congressman doing that for us, which we're really, really proud of, happy for. And that started really, I think, with some efforts. We had him there, and he was seeing the good things that we're doing at the airport, and it was easy for him to get on board with what we're trying to do. So, I mean, it's not a lot of money in the scheme of airports, but for us, what's the big deal is that it's ahead of schedule. So it's a great start for us.
He came out and met with the mayor and these developers and really caught the vision of what this airport could become, and I think some good things are coming of it. So anyway, I can't explain both agreements. There's 2 different lease agreements, but they're both signed already by the developers. So if you approve those, they'll be executed tonight or tomorrow, whenever the mayor signs them.
Restate the September 24, what's the significance of that you just mentioned?
Okay, so by September 15th of next year, the taxiway B1, which is this taxiway here, has to be constructed, allowing for hangars on either side of it to build, and the airplanes could leave the hangars and come to the runway.
I mean, that's pretty significant. We've been waiting a long time on this side of the runway for something to happen, and that surprises me a little bit, but residents should, I mean.
It's about 160-something years we've been waiting.
How long? I was going to say, I couldn't remember, but
Only Chad remembers.
that's a long time.
Yes,
So
hallelujah.
you will see activity on the Main Street side of the airport, and probably pretty visible, so that's neat, that's good.
I'm looking forward to the restaurant overlooking the runway. I was able to eat at one such restaurant in Arizona once, and it was really fun to just see the airplanes land and take off while you have a nice meal with some friends. So
That's cool.
I think that was more of jealousy as we watched those people fly in, get their clubs out, get in their Lamborghini, go golfing, come back.
it's nice to
Isn't
see
that
how
what we
the other
did?
side.
Yeah, jealousy.
Hey, Chris, while we've got you and while you're talking about restaurants and things at the airport, and while we've got Christian here, there was a recent news article by, I think it was ABC Utah, for Utah, whatever, talking about a possible museum at the Spanish Fork Airport. Is there truth behind that?
Yeah, so museums are not cheap, and they take a long time. We've been working on a museum for Halverson, for the Candy Bomber, for quite some time. They've been building up funds, and it takes a while for that to come to fruition, but we're very supportive of it. We've written a letter of support for them, and we'll work with them when they have the funding, and whatever we can do to help them, we'll do. But that's 2 museums looking at our airport, so that's
pretty cool.
It could be a great asset, even more of a great asset to the city than it already is.
Well, before opening it up for, I guess, a motion or any more questions, I'll just say publicly to the groups, the private entities undertaking this, thank you for looking at Spanish Fork. Thank you for going through the changes, the iterations. I know the San Miguel extension that we've talked about before, and switching that around is a big deal for the airport too. But this is not a small investment in our city limits. Guesstimates would put this north, when you combine both of these, at least north of $200 million coming into Spanish Fork around the airport. So that's a big deal, and we're grateful for you sticking with it, and excited for the partnership. So thank you. And Shane now is going to kill that
No,
excitement
no,
with some other question.
No,
Go
I'm
ahead,
not,
Shane.
no more questions. I just want to say thank you for both of these guys. I mean, when this first was presented to us, where's the board? Where's the airport board on? Did they weigh in? Did they vote? Jess, did you guys vote on this?
On this piece, long before I came on, I think it was
Okay.
when you were on the airport board still.
The first time it came to them, they were, no way in the world, let's put it that way. But you did a lot of work to go from that original to this. This is not your traditional city engineer type of a lift, and so congratulations to both of you. This is going to be, like you said, Mayor, a huge investment into our community. To go from bare ground that's basically bringing in $0 to, $200,000 a year plus hangar fees, which is going to be eclipse that pretty easily. That's a very good thing for our airport. We're going to have, what do you call those things, Jesse, where they touchdown?
Touch and go?
How many, you need 10,000?
Operations.
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 We're going to probably double, triple that in the next little bit because of this. Then FAA money comes even further or faster. And so this is significant. So great job. A lot of work. I've been on the council now 2.5 years, and I think this was the first thing we talked about when I got on the council. So congratulations. A lot of work.
Thanks.
Just adding to what Shane's saying, one of the things that I've seen Christian do in this last year that I've been on the airport board is he's taken the PAC or being told, hey, we need to figure out ways to not subsidize the airport very seriously, and he's been working on ways to do that, and not only this, but in other ways. So thank you, Christian, for what you're doing to, really use not use the tax dollars of the city to make sure that the airport is self-sufficient. He works tirelessly to try to make that happen, so thank you.
I don't think you were here when I mentioned it, because, the politician side of me, somebody in Springville said how great the mayor was, but I neglected to mention they said how great Christian was too, because there was a few people there that flew into Spanish Fork, and then they came to that event, and they said, hey, you've got a good one in Christian, so I'll pass that along publicly to you, but good work. This is some intricate stuff, and you've been involved in it from the beginning, so appreciate you. Okay, if there's no other discussion on item F, we need to do these separate. I guess they're kind of presented to you both there, but F and G, both of these hangar lease agreements, we'll take them one by one. I'd entertain a motion for F.
Move to approve the Pady Aviation Main Street Development Grease ground lease agreement.
Second.
Motion made by Councilman Argyle, seconded by Councilman Cardon. A roll call vote here. Councilman Marshall.
Yes.
Councilman Cardon.
Yes.
Councilman Euler.
Yes.
Councilman Argyle.
Yes.
And Councilwoman Beck.
Yes.
Okay, item F is approved. Takes us to G. Same kind of thing here.
I move to approve the Utah Aviation lease agreement.
Second?
Motion made by Councilman Cardon, seconded by Councilman Argyle. A roll call vote. Councilman Euler.
Yes.
Councilman Cardon.
Yes.
Councilman Marshall.
Yes.
Councilwoman Beck.
Yes.
And Councilman Argyle.
Yes.
Item G is approved as well. Thank you. Thanks again. Appreciate it.
Great job.
Okay. Mr. Mertz, anything before you go? You're here the whole time. I would love you to say something too.
I'm not
Sorry.
one that, like a politician, not, afraid of a
We'll
microphone.
teach you.
so-
Yeah.
I'm the project manager on this, and one thing I just wanted to say, totally echo what you were just saying about Christian and Chris. They've been great to work with, absolutely just tremendous to work with. It's funny because earlier today I was talking to a guy in a neighboring community who had to go back 18 different times to get something approved in that city, and Chris and Christian have just been efficient and fantastic to work with. But one thing I do want to say on that development, it's called Patey Aviation Business Park. And I don't know if you're familiar with Mike Patey, but he's a resident here in Spanish Fork. His name is on that, and so this will be first class. So we're excited to have the restaurant and be able to set things up where it's educational, so school kids in Spanish Fork that want to learn about aviation will get a taste for what it's about, and it'll be something that you'll be very much proud of. We're sure of that. It does cost a lot of money, and we kind of like look at each other and think, what are we thinking? But we're excited to make it happen. So thank you so much for all your support, and we're just excited to do it.
Thank you.
We think our goal is to have it done in about a year. That's what we're shooting for. So we'll see what happens. You never know with construction, but that's the goal. But we're excited. Thanks
Well,
so
you
much.
guys got the passion, and we appreciate your partnership. Thank you so much.